It has been about 4 months since I took the initial look at the OURPLACE Always Titanium Pan Pro, and I have some thoughts. Initially, I think they touted this as the world's first non-stick pan that doesn't require any kind of coating, attributing that to a titanium surface as well as a special shape on the pan. Well, I have put this thing through it. I was not gentle whatsoever. And while this has become my go-to pan for certain things, it definitely has not replaced every pan in my roster. So let's talk about it. The first thing you're gonna notice about this pan is that it's not all that clean. This has just come out of the dishwasher, which I will say is my favorite, or at least one of my favorite features of this pan. But as you can plainly see, because of its groove texture, food often gets caught in those grooves, gets stuck in there, and becomes a pain in the butt to get out. Which for a pan that touts itself as non-stick is extremely frustrating. Now, that does not in any way make this pan a pain in the ass to clean. A bit of scrubbing, soap and water, maybe some bartender's friend, some baking soda, make short work of any of the buildup that comes at the bottom of this pan. So I guess it's still easier than a stainless steel pan that's got some food stuck onto it, but it's by no means as easy to clean as a non-stick pan. They still do recommend that you coat the pan with a layer of oil before storing it to help it maintain its non-stick qualities. So in that sense, it's almost even like a cast iron pan. Yeah. The way this pan seems to straddle the line between non-stick, cast iron, and stainless steel is pretty fascinating to me, I have to admit. It's definitely like a jack-of-all-trades situation, but in a weird way, in that it will never replace my favorite non-stick egg pan. When it comes to making eggs or melting cheese or anything like that, this is still my favorite pan to use. And I feel like it always will be. This is a very decent non-stick ceramic. But when you get into the realm of things like cast iron, where their strength lies in its durability and their ability to just really take a beating, this kind of squares up pretty well. This is currently my favorite pan to make goat curry out of. A process that requires you to sear meat, sweat out vegetables, and slow cook a very thick and burnable gravy for a long period of time. The only pans I'm using for that is this and my blender. Because of its non-stick enough qualities, it's really great for searing meat. And the crust that you can get on this thing is absolutely beautiful. And not only that, because there is no actual non-stick coating that I have to worry about, I can take a blowtorch to this and sear the top of whatever I want. If I wanted to use open flame on this thing, I will do it with all confidence. And because it is still just that much easier to clean, it has taken a lot of work from this guy as well. That being said, if you like to bake in your skillet cookies, skillet cornbread, skillet brownies, skillet pies, this could never be her. And that includes frittatas as well. The grooves still show on baked surfaces, which is an aesthetic factor, and in baking that does matter. It also runs just that much more of a risk of holding on to whatever it is you're baking and kind of ruining it. And the grooves are enough of a concern when it comes to gripping on to baked things that you just might feel more comfortable working with a pan that does not have that. Especially when it comes to baking, where you do all the work up front and the payoff is right at the end. Having a chance that it might not work out makes it a very hard sell for that specific purpose. So if you would do a lot of baking in this, that's not taking anyone's job. When it comes to other nitpicky gripes, there have been some questions in my comments asking about the vent that exists between the lid and the pot so that it can fit the spatula in here. First of all, let's address this. This thing is garbage. It is a cheap wooden spatula that fits right here because of a hole, and it is very unfortunate because this was an opportunity to showcase the premiumness of the pan. Why not have this one be metal? If this surface is durable enough to withstand the scraping of metal, why don't you put your money where your mouth is and have the utensil itself be made of metal? How amazing would it be if this was made of the same metal as the surface of the pan? Is titanium good for cooking? I don't even know. That would probably be super expensive. But even steel would be fine. And that also brings us to this little groove here, the hole that makes it so that you can fit the spatula into the pan. And I will illustrate my point with a little bit of a visual. Some people in the comments have asked me whether or not this poses any kind of problem. And honestly, I gotta say yes and no. Yes, it is way too hot right now with the vent open. You can kind of close it and redirect it, but still not all that well. That being said, as a person who works in the industry, I'm still just used to just grabbing with a rag anyway. I have actually made pan-fried dumplings in this with much success because of its shape and because of its durability. I just don't see a situation when this thing is just full of steaming hot water, you're going to want to move it around very much. That being said, it gets hot as f. So just don't do that anyway. Now, I will say that when I'm cooking things such as like a curry or when I'm cooking steak, I don't know why my lid would be on here, but in that situation, there is no steam that comes out anywhere near as aggressively, and I just don't run into the problem of having to hold the handle. The handle itself is not the thing that gets hot that you have to watch out for. It's the steam that comes out that can burn your hand that is the issue. And in most situations, you're not cooking anything in any way that produces that. And as I said, if you are, you're not moving the pan around. 4 months later, what is my recommendation for this pan? Well, at $195, this is by no means cheap. At $195, it's not even affordable for a lot of people. Should you consider buying it? I really have a hard time attributing value in that way on behalf of somebody else. That's one thing that I've found to be the most difficult when it comes to giving a review. Because at the end of the day, as far as like my everyday personal pan for rough cookings, such as searing meats or making curries or things that just like require me to scrape the bottom of the pan without having to worry about it, but still being easier to clean than my cast iron and non-sticks, yeah, I use this a lot, and it just so happens that I do that kind of cooking a lot. So to me, I'm still very grateful to have this pan. I still use it a lot. I think it's worth it for my purposes, but I also cook every day, multiple times a day. As far as home cooks go, I cook almost at a professional level of frequency. I say that because I also used to cook at the professional level. As far as who I think would benefit most from having a pan like this, it's for people who are short on space. The pan does a good enough job that it could replace most stainless steel and cast iron applications. For a home cook, if all you had was this pan and this pan, I'm pretty confident you can get most of your needs fulfilled, not including stock pots and Dutch ovens and all that stuff. But even then, this proves itself to be more versatile than you initially expect. I never once thought when initially getting it that this would be my go-to curry pan. And on the other end of the spectrum of people that would find this useful is the person who has everything. Because even if you have everything, all the fanciest pans, all the bells and whistles, that thing just might prove itself to be one of your favorite casual everyday pans anyway. Because that's what it did with me. It just fulfills that one sweet spot of being non-stick enough, easy enough to clean, dishwasher friendly, and extremely durable. There is a lot of convenience in that combination. You just have to mind its quirks. Keep it seasoned, keep it oily, and keep it hot. And for everything else, use your non-stick. I will probably do a follow-up in 6 months, and that will be a test of its durability. But otherwise, the pan itself is something that I, personally, am happy to have.